Today, we've got, how do we say the last name?
LaJoie.
LaJoie.
That's the Americanized version
right.
of it. It's French. I guess LaJoie, but
LaJoie.
that's a couple generations removed.
I gotcha.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah. And you are a NASCAR driver.
NASCAR driver, man.
And you're young.
Yeah, 27. Just turned 27 last week.
That's amazing. So most people, and I'm not a huge fan of the sport, so I don't want to act like I am, but you have to start really young, right? How'd you get your start?
I think you could almost compare it to fighting a little bit because, that car control has to be instinctual, like any sort of move, I guess, when you're fighting somebody. I've never fought, but, that's when you're in the race and you're racing wheel to wheel with somebody, man, it's you don't have time to really think. You just got to react. Yeah. And, so I was lucky enough. My dad did it. So he stuck me as soon as I was 2 feet tall to stick me in a go-kart and push me along, right? And say, hey, good luck to you. Don't hit anything, right? Put a helmet on and off I went. So, yeah, it's my grandpa raced. I raced. I'm a third-generation race car driver, and I'm trying to carry that LaJoie flag high.
That's awesome. So starting at 2 with go-karts, and then what do you there's gaps before you get to where you're at, right?
Yeah, there's certainly gaps from a 4-year-old on a go-kart to a 25-year-old cup driver. It's kind of actually structured like baseball, where it's the majors, which is the NASCAR Monster Energy Cup Series. The Xfinity Series is like AAA, trucks to AA, and on down the list with a bunch of feeder series. So it's just kind of the natural progression you learn with people the same age as you, right? And late models when you're 14, 15, 16, then you move up to the K&N Series. And I was able to have success in all those divisions and got the call last year to be a rookie in the Cup Series and still trying to climb that ladder. That's
awesome. So at any point in your career, did you face any challenges? Like anything that was just like,
dude, my whole life's been a struggle. I mean, it's weird because people think that since my dad had some decent success in this, I'm the silver spoon kid. It's never been the case. And when Dad was having his success in the middle '90s, race car drivers didn't get paid a whole lot. I mean, they got paid well, right, but not enough to pay for your kid all through his journey. Mm-hmm. So you kind of, people are quick to label in anything, right? So I had to work through that label. And it actually was a time to where a couple years, that was about 4 years ago, where the driving stuff dried up on me. And I had to be a crew chief and set cars up for other people just to pay bills. And a lot of things happened. And, I was actually going down that path. It was kind of a fork in the road. I was super successful when I was 16, 17, 18, and sponsorship money dried up. Had to go down the path of working on them. So that made me appreciate that side of it and what the guys that always worked on my cars did. And I was going down that, and a sponsor that I met a couple years prior wanted to get me back in the fold, gave a little bit of money, got me back in the Xfinity Series, which is like AAA, ran well, and got the nod from Ron Devine and BK Racing last year to see what I got.
And that's awesome.
The rest is kind of history. I'm still, I'm still paying my dues, I guess you can say, with, the lesser funded teams. It's however much money you got, it's however fast you go. It's a lot of discrepancy from the fast guys to the slow guys in money. But, I'm lucky enough to even be one of them 40. It's not where I want to be competitively ultimately, but I'm learning the tracks. I'm learning, just the environment and places you go. And I get to be on Team Onnit, which is a dream come true. Man, I've followed the brand for probably 4 or 5 years now. And always been into fitness and CrossFit and been a huge MMA fan. Never really got into it because I didn't really feel like getting my arm ripped out of socket to go a couple of days before I have to go to the racetrack. But I got teamed up with these guys, and it's been amazing. And to even be on this show, man, I listened to this show since the start, and to be sitting here in front of you is pretty crazy. So
that's awesome, brother.
It's crazy where it's taken me the last couple of years, because I thought I was just going to be one of the guys behind the scenes working on it, making the cars go fast. And over about a 16th month period, it's turned, and now I'm on the camera, so it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, let's talk a bit about what it's like in the race, because so much of this, and you alluded to this earlier, there is a parallel between racing and fighting. And Bruce Lee talks about this. You can't train to the point of where you're still thinking. You have to train to the point where you're no longer thinking. It's all reflex, right? Because the shit's happening so fast that if you have to think about the move or what's coming at you, you've already fucked up, right? Mm-hmm. Same thing on the track with how fast you guys go. What else plays a factor in your mental preparation for the race?
Man, it's a lot, because from the outside looking in, if you're just sitting in the stands, and the big stereotype of NASCAR is you just go straight and turn left, go straight, turn left. Well, that's if you got to the track and actually listened to it and actually sat down there right up against the fence when we're whizzing by at 210 miles an hour, man, there's a lot of G-forces on your body. The cars are hot as shit. They're about 140 degrees in the cockpit there the whole time, and you're in there for 4 hours at a time. So you're literally locked in, 7-point harness. Your feet aren't moving. The only thing moving essentially is your shoulders and your ankles, right? So like, I don't think that your body was made to sit in the same spot for 4 hours and literally move 2 joints in your body. So, but it's as much as it's physically demanding with, you talked about a sauna, to get your body used to sitting in that 140 degree car for 4 hours at a time. Yeah, it takes training, because it's uncomfortable, and you just have to get comfortable being uncomfortable. And it takes a little bit long. It takes a little while to actually get used to that, because your body doesn't like being in that.
Yeah. We want homeostasis. We want it nice and calm.
I want 72 degrees.
Yep.
Hell yeah, right.
Yeah.
But when you hop in there and you're sweating and your brain's being noisy and you have so many distractions going on, to be able to flip that switch and really quiet your brain down and do the job at hand is what took me the longest to really understand how separate your body and your brain is, to really quiet your brain down and do the job that it takes. Because if you're looking at a coffee cup, and early in my career, when you're not confident in your abilities and you're not confident in your own self, your cup's full, right? And anytime you get any sort of hardship, man, your cup's going to overflow. So trying to take all the distractions and all the things and just essentially grow your capacity and make your cup bigger. That way anything changes, and because things are constantly changing, right? Whether it's track temperature or the handle on your race car, you have to be ahead of that and expect that. And the more area you have in your cup to dump in those distractions, that you could just take it, secondhand.
Yeah. You're just like you're giving yourself bandwidth,
right,
for anything else that's about to come in. You have more downloads coming your way. There's new shit to factor.
Exactly, man. When I first started going, last year was my rookie year, I didn't have a big bandwidth, right? I was a 16 gig iPhone that could only hold 15 pictures, right? Like, I was so concentrated on the little things that I know that I wasn't allowing myself to grow. And it took meeting with a sports psychologist to kind of step back and look at the big picture, to actually, be confident in the things you do know and what has gotten you here, but also kind of let go of some of those things and learn how to be a professional. Because being a professional in the race car is what I've always learned how to do. But being a professional outside the race car, dealing with sponsors and people and pit crews and all that stuff was all new to me at the time. So that's been the biggest thing to me is getting a bigger bandwidth, because there's so many distractions, and the Bible says to whom a lot has been given, lots expected. So to try to keep growing that, and I feel like I'm a pretty religious guy, so God's put me, I feel like, in this situation He's putting a lot of things on my plate, and I'm going to try to disperse those to whoever needs them. So I try to take the back seat sometimes, but I've learned a lot, and it's just crazy to me to be sitting here like in Aubrey's office on it, dude. Like it really is crazy. Like, I'm not like fanboying here, but it's crazy because you listen to Joe Rogan's podcast, and like, I'm just a regular dude, man. Like it's just cool.
Hell yeah. Unpack some of the stuff that you've worked on with your sports psychologist. I used 2 of them when I was fighting professionally. One worked with me primarily on visualization, because I used to fucking panic in my walkouts, and I would panic at the weigh-ins, even the day before the fight. No, I'm not going to fight the guy right then, but it was just fucking all the fear and being in front of people half naked. Yeah. So like, we would walk through those things.
Standing next to some guy that wants to beat the shit out of you.
Yeah. And the mean mugs square off, all that bullshit. But with enough visualization like that, I had already walked myself through that. I'd done enough laps and enough walkthroughs of whatever that thing was, so that when I got to it, it didn't matter. It was cool. It was easy. And then the other sports psychologists worked with me on breath work, qigong, different things like that, so I could quiet my mind in the storm. Yeah. And I think there's a lot of parallels here.
No doubt.
So what are some of the things that
so we did the stomach breathing stuff versus chest breathing was pretty big, because I didn't have any idea. And you don't know until you've worked with somebody that knows more than you do, right? So, but the problem with that stomach breathing is, as much as it's linked to calming your mind down, it's almost impossible to do it while you're sitting down strapped in. I mean, you're literally, that lap belt is as tight as they can get, and your shoulder straps are tight as they can get. So any sort of breath is hard to come by, let alone strictly stomach breathing versus chest breathing. But to try to really concentrate on that was big. And actual, you said vision, but working on your peripheral vision was big for me, where I don't know what the activity or whatever it's called, but to pick a spot on the ceiling, like the corner of the ceiling, and literally just open your peripheral up, and it calms your mind as well. So, before I get in the car, or when I'm in the car, because that's the only time you're not around people, right? Is when you get in and put your helmet on. Like, that's the quiet it's ever going to be all weekend. And I'll sit there, pick a spot, whether it's a roll bar on the car, and I'll actually open my vision up and go all the way to the right, all the way to the left, all the way up, and all the way down. That way you're fully aware of your surroundings, and anything that's coming isn't new, right? Like this A-post window with a duct in it, if it's a certain duct tape that's gonna take away your concentration for a split second, you already seen it, right? Yeah. So as much as it is seeing actual things around the car or the surroundings at the track, it's as much as, I think, calming your mind to, because everybody gets in the middle of a workout and your brain's like, stop doing this to me. Like, just quit. Like, take a breather. But you don't get to take a breather when you're going 200 miles an hour and you're trying to, guys behind you want to pass you, and the 15, 20 guys in front of you got to pass, right, to do your job to the best that you can do. So it's a lot of stuff that, like you said, parallels between racing and fighting, that if you don't really dig into racing and find out all the different strategies and all the work that goes in to make those cars go fast, because you're fighting for literally tenths of a second, that could be the difference between being fifth and being 25th. So if you're 2% off in 10 areas, man, all of a sudden you're really slow. So let alone that in the car side, if you're 10% off in your mental clarity or your body condition of not being in shape at the end of the race, man, that next guy's going to get you.
Yeah. Oh, let's talk about that too. So you mentioned CrossFit and some different things. I mean, obviously there's a general misconception, I think, when people think of race car drivers, they think of them as like, it's not, you're in a fucking car, but they don't realize like the heat, the exhaustion, the endurance that's required, the G-force, the core stability to stay in place, like all of that factored into the fact that it's that long of a race, right? So what are some of the ways that you train specifically for racing?
Some sauna work helps, but when I get into like the meat of the season, where you've been going for 2 months and haven't had an off week, and you're not going to have an off week for another couple months, I don't go to the sauna just because you're getting that every Sunday, right? So I'll do that in the off season just to keep my brain trained. And then, it's almost like doing 1,000 side bends in a 140-degree sauna. I mean, that's what it is, because, man, your low back gets fired up because your hips are trying to hold your body up, but when you're turning, your shoulders are going away. They're going to the right. Your head's going to the right. You'll literally have some places you'll have tears. I'll have tears run out of this eye, over my nose, into this eye, and out. And like I don't even. I'm sure I blink, but like I don't think about it when I'm blinking. But there's been places where you're like, it's weird too, because you'll sometimes get into so much of a zone per se that you get comfortable, and then you almost have to snap yourself out of it because you're giving up that little bit of time because you are being comfortable. I feel like you have to always be uncomfortable to be able to reach that full potential of the car's speed. So you can get in a comfortable rhythm of lifting at the same spot, right, and get to the gas at the same spot. But then all of a sudden, after 20 laps, you've been giving up that tenth and a half of speed. Man, that adds up to, a second and a half on the racetrack, which is huge.
Rogan's talked about that before with fighting, that, you have to have a certain level of nerves in each fight, as almost like a respect level.
Yeah.
And that, if you go into a fight where you really have zero nerves, odds are you're going to get your ass kicked because you don't realize like the fucking weight of the situation, or what that potential is from your opponent,
right.
But you touched on a subject that I wanted to dive into in flow. Like, so much of mastery in any sport comes in flow states, right? How often have you found that you've been able to tap into that, and what are the ways that you try to tap into flow?
I don't even know what flow is.
Flow would be when you're in the fucking zone.
Okay.
Right? So
where it's almost like an out-of-body experience.
Yeah, man.
It's
like
weird.
you're there's no time. You're not concerned with time. You're not concerned with anything. And then when it ends, you're like, holy shit, where was I? Right?
Yeah. Every week I get into that. It's like, and it's soothing in a sense, because like, this is your talent being fully maximized. Because when you're in the car, now granted, some cars can go faster than others. That's just the name of the game. The cars that have more horsepower, more aero grip, and a better setup are going to go faster than the cars that don't. But there's a maximum velocity that the car I'm driving can go. And you just once you get into that zone, and once you find out the parameters of what that car can take, then you can get in that zone, and then you can hammer it out. And sometimes it's almost, like I just said, it's almost important to be in that. You don't want to be that the entire time, because then you get comfortable. So you have to ramp that intensity back up. Sometimes the car can't take it, so you can actually get out of that rhythm, and then you got to reel it back in, right? Because sometimes it calls for 110% effort, and sometimes it calls for 95% effort. So you gotta balance that the whole day. Because there's sometimes, right, if you're in lap 150 of a 500 lap race, you don't want to go 110%, because then your brakes are going to be used up, your tires are going to be shot, you're going to get your heart rate's going to get up, and you have to manage that for the end of the race, where it's more important.
Yeah, how much of this has to do with pacing? Like, how does that factor in? Because you have pit stops, you have times where you can come and get things fixed, but they're not changing out everything.
No,
right?
So you just put 4 tires on and fuel, and make some small adjustments to the weight screws in the back of the car to make it loose or tight. But you don't get much time, and there's more pacing in the lower divisions, because to save money, essentially, they don't give you tires. They give you one set of tires for the race. It's a shorter race.
Okay.
So you actually have to pace. You want tires left at the end of the race, so you have to pace 50% at the beginning of the race to get it at the end of the race. Well, Cup Series and Xfinity Series, you get tires every time there's a caution, essentially. So anytime you get the opportunity to come put tires on, you put tires on, and you're making 50 qualifying laps, all you got. And then caution comes out, come in, put 4 more tires on, and you're all out again. So there's way less pacing. Now, certain tracks call for pacing on brakes, because you don't want to go too hard early to run. Brakes get hot, engine will get hot, your body will get hot. Like, there's a little bit amount of pacing, but if you are pacing, there's somebody not, and he's probably going faster than you are.
Yeah. Shit. What else is going on in your life outside of racing?
I'm getting married New Year's Eve. I'm excited about that. Wedding planning is.
Don't do it.
I know.
Yeah. I kid. I love my wife.
It's expensive to plan a wedding.
Yeah.
To pay for a wedding, but she's been with me through the crew chiefing days, all through this crazy journey of being back in the fold on the driving side. So she's definitely the person I want to go through life with. And so there's that we've only got 2 more weeks left in the season, so hopefully close that out with a bang, and then trying to get myself in the best position possible for next year. Because when you're in that back 15 cars of the garage, those teams are so tight on cash that they're essentially taking the driver with the most amount of sponsorship dollars, whether or not myself has a little more talent than the next guy. If that guy's got another $1 million, they're going to give that guy the nod over myself. So trying to find a team that and where I'm at now, TriStar Motorsports is great, and I'd like to stay there, but we'll see what happens on their end. If you come to the race, eventually the trailers are parked highest in points to the lowest in points. And right now we're somewhere around that 30th mark. So obviously my goal is to try to keep going up them trailers, right? And eventually being a championship capable car, because all the guys that I was racing with coming up, Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, Darrell Wallace Jr., all these guys my age that are making a big wave in the sport, Kyle Larson, I've raced with all these guys and I've beat them a lot and they've beaten me some, but I know that my talent level is capable. Those guys just got a really good opportunity with some better teams, and their career just went a different path. So mine's just been a little more of a struggle, but I don't mind a struggle because it makes you appreciate it more, right?
Yeah, hell yeah. And the struggle and the stress and the challenge is the thing that helps us grow.
Right, for sure. Yeah, and I wouldn't trade it all. If you told me today to trade it in for Jimmy Johnson's car, I probably wouldn't do it, because I wouldn't be sitting here today with the outlook on life and racing and a career and family and friends as I do now. So I don't take it off. I don't take anything for granted.
What is the age group of people when they get to the level that you're at? Are you fairly young for?
Yeah, I'm probably. There's actually just a group of us that kind of are over the last two or 3 years that have came in when some older guys got out. I would say that I'm probably fourth or fifth youngest guy, but the average age for a driver in their prime is 37.
Okay,
so that's kind of completely backwards from most of other sports, right? That's kind of where knowledge and talent kind of physical ability kind of intersect, right?
Yeah, you haven't lost all the physical abilities, and you have that much more track experience, that much more time in.
Exactly. So, Jimmy Johnson's in his prime still. Kevin Harvick's in his prime still. So those are the older guys that are at the top. So hopefully I can stick around this deal for another 7 years to get really in my prime and be, in a capable car to win some races one day. Because I feel like I'm right there. And, once I do get those opportunities, I'm certainly going to make the most of it.
Hell yeah. Yeah, brother.
Yeah.
Well, dude, it's been awesome having you on the show, man.
No problem. I'm glad you had me.
Hell yeah, brother.
It's been a blast.
Where can people find you online?
Yeah, on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, at CoreyLaJoie. That's me. Come follow me. I usually have I do Instagrams. Instagram's my favorite one. I like to have fun on my stories and stuff and interact with people. But I'm trying to grow that because social media nowadays is king, right? So try to build that for companies like Onnit that want to help me as much as I want to be a part of companies like that. So it's to be doing cool stuff like this is awesome.
Fuck yeah, brother. It's been awesome having you, my man.
I need to have you out to a race.
I would love that. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
You'd be way more surprised on all the inner workings behind the scenes as you would think.
I just keep picturing the movie Cars, so I know that's not
not good. As long as you're not picturing Talladega Nights,
okay,
because that is the worst damn movie to carry the torch for our sport.
You don't want to go fast?
Hell yeah, I want to go fast, but
all right.
But man, it's there's so many stereotypes in that movie. And granted, you got to take it lightly, right? It's hilarious. And Days of Thunder is probably one of my favorite movies, but that's probably a little bit more
yellow car.
Oh yeah, so it's cool. It's a big traveling circus, is what it is. You see the same people every week, and race against the same people every week. So it's a pretty cool community to be in for sure.
That's awesome, brother. Well, fuck yeah, man. We'll run it back, and I'll definitely love to come out and watch you race.